Hi, my name is Colleen Schmidt. I am a longtime astrologer. I am at this point getting ready to do hopefully a series of short video clips that will help educate and encourage traditional astrologers to use and utilize the asteroids. And there is so much work that is done in this area, including work in the medical, as well as my teacher works in crime. And I'm going to go into detail about those things, but today, just because I want to get working on video clips and getting more familiar with the venue, I'm going to start with an article that I've already written for the website, and so therefore I can kind of see and determine what might be a better venue. Should writing or does the video clips work better? So I'm going to start with an article that I have entitled A Bit of Optimism. Okay, because Jupiter, as of November 8th, 2018, has just gone into Sagittarius. Now, first of all, just let me say that Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So, of course, it's really strong here. And this is where Jupiter can really strut its stuff. So it kind of gives Jupiter kind of a hats off energy to work with. So, in light of the negativity that's going on today, especially in our politics, the way we're divided, I thought it could be kind of nice to know that Jupiter is going into a sign where, first of all, Jupiter is about optimism, and if it's strongest in Sagittarius, well then, that's kind of a really cool thing. So hopefully it brings along with it some degree of optimism. Okay, so let me just go on and talk a little bit about Jupiter. As I said, it's a great deal about optimisms. It's also about matters related to the ninth house of traditional Western astrology. So that would be things that are like higher education, religion, personal philosophy. It can indicate changes as well. So, sometimes those really holier than thou, very righteous people, is actually one of the pitfalls that we might have to watch for in the next 2 years, because it does represent those things. So some of the very heavy-duty religious right groups might have or take opportunity at this time, because this is the time and place for it. With that said, the other downsides, because there's always downsides, because this is an overindulgence, overdo it, overreact, this is an energy that these things tend to happen, overspending, particularly overspending. The idea is that you're overly optimistic means that you might eat more, drink more, spend more. And so, on a personal level, I think that's something we should all be considering. I think on a more national level, and this is going on all over the world, we can look out for things like the religious zealots and what activities they might be bringing to us over the next 2 years. And that's going to be true also in politics, because a lot of political attitude sometimes is based on these philosophies. And, unfortunately, this again is part of the downside. So look at things that will happen that maybe are disruption of the concept of church and state and that division of church and state. And I think that's really important to point out here, because that's something that constitutionally the forefathers really wanted. And it might be something that comes to the forefront over the next 2 years. As again, Jupiter continues its journey through Sag. Now, Jupiter is also known for opening new opportunities, and so these new doors or opportunities are opening up. And this is going to be true, I think, on many levels. That's the optimism. Okay, the problem is when we overreach, or we think that we can do more than we really can, or we're so gung-ho optimistic about an idea, and then we realize that we can't follow through, that there are things, unknown factors even sometimes, that we hadn't accounted for. So it's not even so much that Jupiter brings these things as it is sometimes our optimism that brings in these good fortunes. But with that said, there's also this whole side of nature, again, particularly as it falls in Sagittarius and Jupiter, where somebody might want to just kick back, put their feet up, relax, and take it easy, because it comes with that too. So there's a degree of laziness that can also be involved with this. Okay, so, that's another side effect, in addition to all the overindulgences. If you're sitting around, laying around, being lazy, chances are you're also overeating. So those are the things, or overspending. Who sits down with their computer and shops? Oh, that's right, most people. So be aware that this energy is very conducive to that. If you're someone that already has those tendencies, you want to be hopeful that you can be mindful during this time. I think that the other thing that I think is going to be interesting is we have a holiday season coming up, okay? Our first one with this. No wonder they're predicting record sales, okay? I think generosity this year could be a little bit more than other years. Again, I just hope people aren't going into debt for it. And I think that's a really important thing to consider here, okay? Because it may look optimistic on the surface, but very often it's not. Okay, so then, a couple of other things. It talks about attention being paid to what's going on in the outer world. Okay, that's because the whole ninth house is about foreign people, or people who are different countries, foreign countries. So there may be a lot of attention to what's going on with foreign activity or what other countries are doing. Now remember, this is going on in the world, so to some countries we are that foreign country. Okay, so but it does kind of, again, capture the moment of this is all about the world, and then, thinking about that in terms of, philosophies, religions, and how different people are from culture to culture. So that once again we can be looking at maybe the world getting smaller in a good way, hopefully a good way. So, so it goes on, and so not only are we more interested in what's going on in the outer world, but the outer world can have more of a direct effect on us. Okay, and I think that's, one of the things I know that, where some people don't want to think about as much as how interactive we are globally. I know there's this whole quote unquote, if I may, national movement. Okay, but I think for the most part, a lot of us are also global. Okay, so, the global element is going to be, I think, more active. Okay, with this. So, another astrologer had mentioned, that things also are going to be happening slowly, slow optimism, slow build to whatever. And the fact remains is that, even in terms of politics or what's going on in the world in other country politics, I think that any really good healing is going to take some time at this point. So, again, humor comes with this energy, and this is a time we need it more than ever. And hopefully the humor is also, that state of mind, okay? Like, we want to have something to be humorous about, and we got to make it sometimes. We have to create it. It's our opportunity. Okay, this is a time also where you have to ask yourself, what are you believing? What are you hearing? Because, our curiosity with Jupiter can also be greater. I think it's real important for us, however, to be very discerning what we are listening to. What are we allowing to seep into our conscious and educate us, okay? Because we are looking at that as well with Jupiter in Sagittarius. Through Jupiter in Sagittarius, Jupiter is considered a benefit, though. Okay, so all this time I'm telling you all the downsides, okay, but it really is a benefit. It brings on this optimism. And, but on the other hand, I think in astrology, one of the biggest things I want to point out as an astrologer is this concept of there is no good or bad. It's like yoga, no judgments, no expectations. And I think that, we have to we really have to keep that in the forefront of our mind, particularly as we go through Sagittarius, which can be a very righteous sign. And everybody gets on their soapbox and they're absolutely right. And you know what? I get it. But just remember that judgment, reserve judgment. And that not in all situations is a judgment even appropriate. Okay? It also brings in this excessive negativity when you begin to judge something. Okay, Jupiter brings in change. Okay, and I think that for the most part it brings in hope and optimism. Okay, or it brings a hope that can lead to a positive or an optimism. I think that the exception is when we overreach, when we think we can do more than we think we are more than we are. You know, that also happens, you know, so taking it slower, being more discerning, being more aware of one's directions. You know, that's what's really important right now. So the next 2 years might be a really good time to take up higher education, learn that extra course if you want to, create the change you would like to see. Create the change that you would like to become. And I think in Sagittarius, Jupiter is really affording us just that opportunity. Goodbye, and hopefully I see you again.